Buenas noches.
Buenas noches, ¿cómo le
No
va?
quería que entráramos a Pesaj sin poder verlos.
¿Cómo está?
Bien, mira, ha sido difícil porque estuve haciendo varios trabajos con mi señora y todo eso, pero no me quejo. Todo está lindo y todo ha estado perfecto.
¿Se
Y
van a quedar acá para
sí,
Pesach?
estamos aquí en mi casa.
Ok.
¿Y tú?
Yo voy a estar acá, pero para el Seder voy a estar en el Valle, para los Seder, en la casa de mi hija mayor.
Gózalo mucho, Mario. Gózalo mucho.
Gracias. Vamos a estar todos los nietos y it's going to be fun. Normally it's a fun evening.
Lo tienes que gozar. ¿Quién lo
¿No?
conduce?
Mis hijas,
Ah, vaya.
sí, porque como se dice en uruguayo, arrugan el hebreo.
Ah, vaya. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, how are you?
Baruch
Hi, Abe.
Hashem. How are you doing?
Baruch Hashem. Really good.
Good.
What's the daf tonight?
Uno.
Mario,
Yeah.
the pattern behind you is making me crazy a little bit. You
The
go back
what?
to your moon. You go back to the moon.
No, this is my gene.
I know, but it's like making me dizzy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll do it. Um, you like the moon? Okay.
There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
How are we going to catch up?
Oh, today he'll do 3 bloods.
Yeah, he has 20 minutes. Well, we can do it.
But tomorrow we should start macros.
We should. You know, the way he estimates things, now I know why he's a urologist.
No comment. No comment.
I just want to see if you're listening.
I have to be careful.
HIPAA.
You know, it's fascinating how, as physicians, how we emphasize risk. For
Okay.
a surgeon, looking at a 1 to 2% risk, nicht gefährlich.
Right.
For me, looking at 1, 2, 3, 4% risk is significant because over a cumulative amount of time, you see the truth.
Right. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's true.
It's the way it is. Ernie.
Hi.
Hi, Ernie.
Okay, Kuf Yud Aleph, 111. Lachein irchiva sha'ol nafsha upara pia levli chok. Pasuk in Yeshaya, Amresh Lakish. What does it mean, beli chok? Lemisha mishayar afilu chok echad. That means if somebody didn't observe even one law, so the grave is open to him. And implies that he's going to lose his Olam Haba. He will get Gehenna. On Rav Yochanan, lo nichel l'marayu d'armet lu'achi. For HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's not nice to say this. According to that, the majority of Jews will go to Gehenna. So he changes it and says, El afilu lomad el chok echad. Just the reverse. If a Jew only learned one din, he has a chelik l'olam haba. And lebli chok means somebody who doesn't learn even anything. Period. Then it says vayabachol eretz num Hashem. Pi shnayim ba yikarsu yaguv ashlishis yoser ba. Amresh Lakish. What is this shlishis? The third. Shlishi shel Shem ben Noach. That it means Noah had 3 children, and only the Semites, everyone else will die and have Gehenna. Amar of Yechidan lo nichla marai darmas lachi. Again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not happy with this. That the majority of the world is not going to survive. El afilu shlishi shel Noach. Even a third of the Noach will stay alive. El afilu, Rashi says, shlishi shel Noach. Klomer mikol bnei Noach. Dainu mikol olam kulo yoser hashlish. And usually, the chelik hashlish are going to be the Jews. They will remain. And if there's not enough Jews to make up a third of the world, there will be Geirim and Chasidei Umas Ha'olam to fill the third of the humanity. If there are going to be more Jews than a third, then there'll have to be less Jews. But of course, there's 8 billion people today. There's There's 13 million Jews. So we're certainly much less. So that you'll have to include Chasidei Umas Ha'olam and Geirim. There's another pasuk in Yirmiyah. Ki anochi bo'alti bachem, v'lakachti eschem echad me'ir u'shnai mishpah. I'll take 1 out of a city and 2 out of a family. Amresh Lakish, Devarim Kichsavam. Implying very few people are going to be redeemed in Olam Haba. Most are going to be lost forever. Amrav Yochanan, lo nichali l'marayu d'Amis Lach. Again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not happy with your pshat. Rather, you have to learn Ela Echad Me'ir Mezaka Kol Ha'ir Kula. One righteous person in a city will be mezaka the whole city. They'll all survive because of that one tzaddik. Ushnai mishpacha mezakin kol mishpacha kula. 2 people in a family who are righteous will save the whole family, and the rest of the family will be nigal for the schus of those righteous people. Yosef Rav Kana kamei derav. Rav Kana was sitting in front of Rav Yosef Omar. He said Dvarim Kichsav. He didn't make this drasha that one person in the city will save the whole city. No. He learned that one person in the city will be redeemed. Again, he said the same thing. Kodesh Baruch Hu is not happy with that. Elo, echad me'ir mezaka kola. Ir u'shnayim mishpach mezaka lo mishpach lo we learned before. Now, Chazir Dov Kachayev Reish of Esok Yosef Kamei Derav. Rav sized Talmid Rav Kahana that he was shampooing his hair. And then he came to sit in the yeshiva. Omar, v'lo timtza ba'aretz hachayim. Rav Kahana thought that Rav is quoting this pasuk regarding him, that he's not going to have future chelik l'olam haba. So, Omar, milit kom lightly, you're cursing me? Omar kra kamina. It's not has nothing to do with you. I'm quoting a pasuk to remind you that losim tzator b'mi shemachai atzmo aleh. Somebody who is shampooing his hair, he's taking a spa, he's getting massages. Such a person is not going to learn a lot of Torah. Torah, you got to suffer. Tanya. On this concept that only a small percentage of humanity are going to be nigal in the future of Simoy or Menema Lakachti Eschem Li La'am. These are one of the 4 lashonis of Geula. I will take you as my people. The Nemar Ve'Vesa Eschem La'aretz. And then there's another lashon. I will bring you to Eretz Yisrael. Mekish Yitziosim Mitzrayim L'Biyos La'aretz. There's a hekesh, a connection between Yitzias Mitzrayim and going into Eretz Yisrael. Ma Biyos La'aretz Shnai Mishishim Ribo. There were 600,000 people who left Egypt. Only 2 of that group made it into Eretz Yisrael. Kalev ben Yefuna and Yoshua ben Nun. 2 out of 600,000. Af Yitziosim Mitzrayim Shnai Mishishim Ribo. Even though we've learned, it says v'chamushim, 1/5 during Choshech that 4/5 died, and only 1/5 went out of Mitzrayim. There are drashas that say Chamushi means 1/50th, that 49 out of 50 died. This Gemara is saying only 2 out of 600,000 came out of Mitzrayim. Amar Rava v'chein limos Mashiach. And therefore, the final Geula by Mashiach is going to be very few, 2 out of 600,000. Because it says, Shenemar v'ansa shama kimenu ureha. The future is going to be like when we were young in Mitzrayim. Chayom alosa meretz Mitzrayim. Tanya Roloz Rabbi Yossi. Pamachas nichnasti Alexandria from Mitzrayim. I went to visit Alexandria in Egypt. Motzati zaken echad. There was an old Egyptian there. Look what my forefathers, the Egyptians, did to your fathers. Mehem tibuyam. Some drowned, right? Because they threw all the boys into the Nile. Mehem hargu b'cherev. Some were killed with the sword. Mehem miyachu b'binyan. Some were thrown into the cement, right? Micha, we learned, the pesel Micha, he was put into a wall. V'aldavar zeh nenesh Moshe Rabbeinu. Because Moshe complained to Hashem regarding the Tsar and the Yisurim of Klal Yisrael, nenash Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was punished. And Emar, Umeyaz, Moshe was sent by Hashem to Paro. And initially it got worse, right? Paro said you have to, collect your own straw. It was just much worse. And Moshe says that to Hashem, Umeyaz basi el Paro, l'daber b'shmecha. From the moment I came to Paro to speak in your name, hey ralamas, it became worse. V'atzeh lo yitzal t'samecha. Omer l'kadosh baruch hu chaval al da'abdim v'lo mishtaktim. Woe is the fact that we don't have the avos, and they're not here. The fathers of the nation, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, because there's no one like them, and you're not like them.
Ernie,
Yes.
when I read this Gemara, I was studying it, I thought of it from a slightly different perspective. I don't want to take up a lot of time. I think the Gemara can be interpreted in a different way. Even though Hashem punishes Moshe, it is this attribute that makes Moshe Moshe and not a father, not an ab. His attachment to each of the people, his love for the Am is so profound.
I think it's a very good point. This is the nature of Moshe Rabbeinu.
That's why he's Moshe Rabbeinu.
Moshe Rabbeinu is different than the Avos in Chanami.
Yep.
And in fact, Hashem is telling him, but I think Hashem is chastising him.
He is.
He's chastising him and he's saying, look what
They trusted me.
Hare kama pamim niglesi al Avram Yitzchak v'Yakov. I appeared to the Avos, Bekel Shaka. So Hashem has different names. And the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei was never used with the Avos. Yud-Kei Vav-Kei represents Midas Harachamim. And it was never used with Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. The first time we see it used is by Moshe. So the Gemara says that Avram and Yitzchak and Yaakov, Hashem appeared to them Bekel Shakai. By the way, the Kabbalistic masters interpret the name Shakai, El Shaddai, with the concept of he is the person Sha'amar La'olam Dai. What does that mean? We see that it says Basara Mamoris Nivra Ha'olam. The world was created with 10 maimons. It says Vayomer Hashem Yehi Or Vayi Or. Vayomer Hashem Yehi Rakia B'Sachamayim. And That's the Amira. That's the 10 Mamoros. Now, and the world was developing. The world, Rav Gedalia Shor says, the world was developing in such a way that the average person would look at the world and they would immediately see HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So there would be the whole point of humanity is that we have free choice. We're not malachim. Malachim look at HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they say Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. They can't say anything else. They have no. Okay. But human beings have a Yetzer Tov and a Yetzer Ra. We have to choose good or evil. If we saw so much of Hashem in the Bria, we would be like Malachim. There would be we wouldn't get rewarded for the choices we made. So at some point, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to the world, die. It stopped evolving. So now when we look at the world, like Stephen Hawking or Albert Einstein, these scientists, they didn't, Einstein said there's an ancient one. God doesn't play dice with the universe. But basically they were atheists. They followed Spinoza, that God is nature, and that the secrets is nature. We can interpret nature. We can understand an equation, E equals mc squared. It's a mathematical. F equals ma, etc. That's how they understood the Bria. They don't see God in the Bria because he said Kel Shada. He was the God of Kel Shakai. Now, why to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov Kel Shakai? And that I don't have an answer from. But the reality is he used Kel Shakai with Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And we can debate why. It was a lower level of revelation. Yud Kei Vav Kei is a higher level of revelation. And we're going to see it's a Kal Vachomer. And he used this higher level only with Moshe. So God says to Moshe, to the forefathers I revealed with Kel Shakai Velohi Huram Amidoisai. They didn't challenge me, even though I might have done things that on the surface look like I'm not doing what I should be doing. They didn't question me. Like, what do we mean? Lo aruli mashmecha. They didn't ask me, what is your name? For example, Omarti la'Avram kumi salech ba'aretz la'archa u'lerachba ki l'chayetnen. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Avram, I'm going to give you this whole land. Walk north, south, right? The breadth and the width. I'm going to give it all to you. But in the end, when his wife dies, Bikesh Mokum Ligboris Sarav Lamatzalo. He has no place to bury his wife. Ad Shekana Ba'arba Me'er Shekel Kesef, which was a fortune. You're talking about $1 trillion. He had to pay for the Maras HaMachpelah a massive amount of money. He could have had complaints against Hashem, but V'lo Hiram Lidoisa, he didn't say anything. That I didn't stand by my promise to him. V'chein amarti liYitzchak, gur ba'aretz hazos, v'yem chavarecheka. Live in the land, I will be with you and I will bless you. Bikshu avodav mayim lishtos. We have the whole episode of Yitzchak's shepherds and the Plishtim's shepherds. This is the first Hamas versus Israel, right? The Palestinians, Avimelech. And Yitzchak couldn't get any water. Bikshu avodav mayim lishtos v'lo matzu. Achasu Mariva, they had to fight. Shenemar vayarivu ro'ei grar, which is in Gaza, im ro'ei Yitzchak, lemor lanu amayim. So here Hashem promises Yitzchak, I will take care of you, I will bless you. And meanwhile, he doesn't have any water. He didn't come to see Hashem. You didn't keep your promises. To Yaakov he also says, the land that you are sleeping here by the dream of the Sulam, I'm going to give it to you. He had no place to plant his tent until Shechem. He had to pay money also there for Shechem. They didn't ask me, what is your name? What was the first thing when Hashem appears to him in the burning bush? The first thing he asked, what's your name? And I even revealed to you when I told you my name, much more of my godless than I gave to them. And now you're coming to me with complaints that I haven't saved the people? You will see what I will do with Paro. And the Chazal Darshan, here is the punishment to Moshe. The fact that the Jewish people are going to be saved from Paro in the Yam Suf and the downfall of Paro, Moshe will see. But Moshe was supposed to be the leader that takes them into Eretz Canaan and destroyed the 31 kings that Yoshua destroyed. That was supposed to be Moshe's job. So now we see that the seeds of the Mei Meriva, the seeds of the when Moshe was told you cannot go into the land by the Mei Meriva, it's a punishment for this episode with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And now he will not be able to go into Eretz Canaan, and the destruction of the 31 kings will happen through Yoshua.
Ernie, since I'm being a pain, I'll continue.
You know,
One huge.
By the way, that's
one
the Gemara.
huge.
That's the Gemara.
That's the Gemara. The one huge difference is, and this troubles me, Moshe's questioning of Hashem isn't about him. It's about the Am. The things that happened to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, it's about them, not about anything else.
So you're saying
that
Moshe
to me,
Moshe is battling for Klal Yisrael. It's not for him.
And at every point, I mean,
right. So let me ask you a question. Then you have to explain then why is HaKadosh Baruch throwing the book at him?
Because he's questioning. No, he's questioning him.
I understand, but why doesn't the Gemara see your point and say he's arguing on behalf of?
I tell you, Ernie makes a very good point, because
agreed.
No, it's a very good point, because we know that Toma Hutra B'Tzibur, Toma Hitra Hutra B'Tzibur. So Moshe Rabbeinu is working on behalf of the Tzibur. I hear what he's saying, and it's a very good kasha. Why?
I agree. I agree 100%.
And what he says about Avraham Avinu, he didn't complain about the price of the Marata Machpelah. We know that there's a midrash that says that when it says Yaratz Avraham Acharei Bakar, that the Bakar took him he saw right away from the Bakar when the three Malachim came, that he saw the Petach to Gan Eden, and that was Marat HaMachpelah. So he was willing to pay any price. Why would he complain about the price? The Gemara I don't understand either. So I don't know what Yitzchak was more of a tzaddik. He didn't complain when they filled up the wells and he had a problem with the wells. But it's completely different. You're dealing with all the people that you're bringing out of Mitzrayim. Moshe Rabbeinu killed the Egyptian, ran away, had Klal Yisrael. He didn't even think he was Jewish. I don't know if he knew he was Jewish, but he had this feeling. So he had this love for Klal Yisrael. Just I like what Abe said.
I agree. George. That was George.
I mean George. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ernie's not arguing. His
question is
your question is why is Hashem punishing him then?
Yeah.
I'm troubled by that.
We have to invest. I'm sure. We have to look at the Marsha. I'm sure somebody asked your question.
But I'm sure the reason that because Moshe Rabbeinu is the only one who had Yechidus with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. he had Yechidus with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He understood the Koach of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if he understood the Koach of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, why would you question him when you know, Befeirush, it's like a father tells a kid, hey, don't do this thing, and then he does it. So you're going to get punished when you do that kind of thing. So if HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to look after everybody, why are you questioning him?
The Gemara has set up a Kal V'chomer. Kel Shakai is a lower level of revelation. And that's what the Kal V'chomer is. And Moshe Rabbeinu, you know much more how powerful I am.
How Hashem works.
You had on Alachas Kama V'Kama, you should not have questioned me. The forefathers didn't question me. It's a matter of emunah and bitachon. There was some lack here by Moshe. He got a better revelation. He certainly should have asked the question. So we see what the Gemara is setting that up. But George has a taina on that because Moshe has nothing to do for him. The other ones, it's all their own personal thing. I think it's a very good point.
No, but he had a little bit of a nikia on it because Moshe Rabbeinu had a nikia. Sorry, George.
Because he's in front of the people, making him look bad in front of the people that he said, I'm coming to save you, and it's not happening.
And it's not happening. So he has nikia. It's his ego which is involved over here.
Okay.
But
let's let George. I don't want to take time. Around.
Okay.
I think we should look around. I'm sure maybe there's some commentators who may I'm sure they discussed it. I mean, they pick up on what we talked about tonight. And we used to say, no, the world says that the reason that Moshe doesn't go into Eretz Yisrael is because of Mei Meriva. This Gemara says it's a much earlier sin. The groundwork was already laid here.
No, the Gemara is saying, I think the Gemara is saying that this led to the Mei Meriva and gave HaKadosh Baruch Hu a teirutz not to let him in.
Yeah, but you see, it starts from here.
But you see, it starts from here. And you see that it starts from here.
Starts from here. Okay, very good. Vayimaher Moshe, vayikod artza vayishtachu. This pasuk is in Parshas Kisisa, where it says Vayavor Hashem al panav vayikra, Hashem kilrachum v'chanun erech hapayim v'rav chesed v'emes, notzre chesed lalofim. And then it says quickly, Vayimayer Moshe vayikod artza vayishtachu. Moshe quickly bowed. Now, Mara Moshe, what did Moshe see by these midos that all of a sudden he had to bow? So Rav Chanina ben Gamla Omar, Erech HaPayim Ra. Erech HaPayim is the midah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu where he's slow to anger. He gets angered, but he's very slow to anger. Rabbanan Omri Emes Ra. It's Notzer Chesed v'Emes. Tanya Kimanda Omar Erech HaPayim Ra. But there's a baraisa that proves that Moshe bowed because of the Erech HaPayim. Where is that? The Tanya. When Moshe Rabbeinu went up for 40 days to receive the Torah, so Moshe sees Hashem writing Erech HaPayim. Moshe's Havamina is that Hashem is only slow to anger for righteous people. Amar lo, no, afle Rishonim. I hold back my anger even with wicked people. Amar lo Rishonim yoivdu. But what about all the psukim and tehillim that the Rishonim are going to go down to Gan Eden and rot, and they're going to be lost forever? What do you mean Erech HaPayim Rishonim? Amar hashla chazis maidim avoylach. Hashem says, you're going to see now why you need me to say Afle Rishonim. Because Kishachatu Yisrael, a year later, you're talking about a year after Matan Torah, not quite a year, in ER, Moshe sends Meraglim. They're about to enter the land, right? They stayed almost a year until ER, like the 22nd of ER, Parshas Baloischa. And then they move, and then they get close, and they send Meraglim. And the Meraglim come back and tell a sob story, they said Lashon Hara, and the people cry. And Hashem says, you know what? I'm going to give you a reason to cry. And it was Tisha B'Av. So Moshe, and he says these people are not going to enter the land of Israel. And Moshe Rabbeinu, he was successful by the Cheta Egel, right? That's when this was said, Hashem, Kirachim Chanun, and the people are not destroyed. Hashem there wants to destroy the people too. Moshe saves them with his tefillas. But then by the Meraglim, he also davens. Omer lo kach amarti liyerech apayim l'tzadikim. So Hashem says to Moshe, you're trying to...
Oh.
Amar lefonov. So Moshe responded, but then when I asked you, says Moshe, you told me I have Erech Apayim even for Rishoim. That's why it says there in Parsha Shlach, I would deceive ve'ata yigdal na koach Hashem kasher dibarta leimor. Now we understand what that pasuk means. This koyach you said, which is l'Rishoim. He's reminding Hashem, Kivyachol, the Haftach Hashem, the promise of Hashem that he's going to have Erech Apayim even for the Rishoim. Now, it didn't work. In the end, it didn't work for various reasons. Rav Chagav Salik V'Azul B'Dagad Be Rav Bar Shila and Shomelu Yanika Do'amar. Rav Chagav was walking up the steps of the house of Rabbi Bar Shila, and he heard a child quoting a pasuk, Eidosecha nemnu me'od, leveischa na'ava kodesh, Hashem la'orech yom. That seems to imply that the Erech Apayim, this slow to anger of Hashem, will be la'orech yomim, will be forever. V'samach le tefillah l'Moshe. By the way, that parsha of Eidosecha Nemud is right next to the Kapitel Tehillim. The Eidosecha Nemud is Tzadik Gimel, and Tefillah Moshe is Tzadik. So it flows out of what Moshe Rabbeinu had a dialogue with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Omar. Shma Mina Erech Apayim Ra. So this is the proof. This paraisa is the proof. That why did Moshe bow down when he heard the midos? He bowed down because of the midah of Erech Apayim. We're coming to the end of the various Gemaras explaining the first mission of Chelek. So this is like a cadenza or whatever, like the final statement. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be a crown at the head of all the tzaddikim. We're talking about Ba'asid Lovo. Hashem is going to be an Ateres, a crown, Tzfiras Tifor Lisharam. My Lateres Tzvi with Tzfiras Tifara. La'osim ritzonu mitzapim lishuasu. It's going to be for those that do the will of Hashem and that wait for His Yeshua. Yachol hakol. Maybe it'll be a crown for everybody. Talmud Lamer lishar amo. Lemisha mesim atzmo kishirayim. Somebody makes himself through modesty, tzaddikim, only for them. The same pasuk says, "Uleruach mishpat," a spirit of justice, le'yoshev ala mishpat, v'legvura meshive melchama sha'ara. We darshan uleruach mishpat zeroides yitzro. These promises of getting a crown, it requires all these gedorim. You have to be able to conquer your Yetzer Hara. That if you're a dayan, or in general in life, you have to judge people be'emes. V'legvura zamiz gaber b'yitzro, somebody who overcomes his Yetzer. Mishiva melchama, that's not war. Zeh shenoseh v'nosem b'melchamta shel Torah. Like we had tonight, we had a dialogue back and forth. That's Melchamta Shel Torah. Sha'ara elu shemashkimim marvim vatiknesis batimidrashos. Those people that wake up early to daven and to learn and at night also to learn. I always think about our nighttime Daf Yomi. We fulfill this marivin bevatiknesis batimidrashos. Amar midas adin lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The attribute of justice said in front of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, Ribono shel olam, manishtanu elu be'elu. We're about to say manishtana. What is the din of people who learn Torah? But you notice we also mentioned other midos. Roides Yitzro, Misgaber al Yitzro. Right? What's the difference between the two groups? Amar lo v'gam ele bayayin shanu uvashechar tohu paku plilia. Ein puka legehenim. Puka means Gehenim. Because by Abigail and David lo siezos l'chol puka. Vein plila, right? Vein plila dayonim. V'nosam baflili. So those that learned Torah but didn't have the proper midas made a mistake, and they're not going to see the proper reward. They'll get just the opposite. They'll get Gehenim. Okay, so you need everything: midos, tovos, and learning. Okay, Mishnah. Last Mishnah in Masechta Sanhedrin, very important one. Anshe irani dachas. There is a din of a city that somebody convinces them to worship Avodah Zarah. So there's a difference in din between an individual who worships Avodah Zarah, and if he is adjudicated in Bezdin, you kill him with skila, Avodah Zarah. That was one of the first things we learned. However, if you are part of a city where the majority of the city, 51%, worshipped Avodah Zarah, then all the people in the city are killed with cherev, with sayif. They're killed, but with a different misa, a lesser misa. Now, a person who worships Avodah Zarah as an individual, his assets go to his family, right? If he's a wealthy person with big estates and he worshipped Avodah Zarah, his family inherits him. Here, by the Irani Dachas, everybody's property is destroyed. So those are the two differences between when an individual worships Avodah Zarah and an Irani Dachas that worships Avodah Zarah. And Anshe Irani Dachas ein lahem chelik l'olam haba. Among those people, which we've mentioned, different groups that don't have chelik l'olam haba, if you're in a Irani Dachas and you get killed, you don't have olam haba. Shneimar. But somebody, as an individual who worshipped Avodah Zarah and then is killed by Bezdin, that's his atonement, and he has chelik l'olam haba, unless he's done one of the other things that we mentioned in this perek. If you're mavazah tamid chachamim, you're not bikoris, you might have lost your olam haba because of some other aveira, but just Avodah Zarah itself, no. But in Irani Dachas, yes. Shneimar. the parak of Ir Nidachas says, Yotzu anashim b'nei v'liyal mikirbecha. There were wild people that came out from the midst of you. Vayadichu es yoshvei iram leimor. It was there were people who lived in that same city. And they were the ones who incited the people of that city to worship Avodah Zarah. This Mishnah now is going to, so we have learned another halacha in Masechta Sanhedrin about the Ben Sorer Umore, the rebellious son, where he's also killed with skila. But if you remember, we had a Gemara that says lo haya v'lo niv, that there was never a case of a Ben Sorer Umore. So the Gemara asked, if there was never a case of Ben Sorer Umore, why did the Torah write a whole parsha about the Ben Sorer Umore? So the Gemara answers, drosh v'kabel schar. Not for practical reasons, for drush reasons. We're going to see soon as well that the Ir Nidachas never at lo haya v'lo niv. Now, why not? So by the Ben Sorer Umore, the details of how you become a Ben Sorer Umore are so exquisitely detailed, it could never happen. He's got to be between the age of 13 and 3 months, and the mother and the father have to have the same appearance and the same voice. And if you remember all the various Gedorim. So let's look here what the Mishnah is going to say as to what has to happen for an Ir Nidachas to be declared an Ir Nidach. Number one, Shayu Madichem Oisayir. The insiders have to come from that city. Umeyosu HaShevet, from the same Shevet. Va'ad sheyudach ruba, more than 50% of the city has to worship Avodah Zarah. Va'ad shedichu anoshim, men have to be the insiders. But hidichu noshim uktanim, if the culprits who were doing the incitement were women or children, or shuhudach mi'uta, less than 50% of the city worshipped Avodah Zarah, or shahayu maricheh chutzala, the insiders did not come from that city or from that shevet. They came from outside. Harei elu ki yechidim. So the people who worshipped Avodah Zarah in that city, even if it was like 30% of the population, they are all killed with skila. But they don't lose their money. But they're treated as yechidim who worshipped Avodah Zarah. Now, in order for it to be an Ir Nidachas, tzrichin shnei edim v'asro l'kol echad ve'echad. Each person in that city who worshipped Avodah Zarah needs 2 edim who gave them hasra, warning about, don't worship this Avodah Zarah, and what the punishment is. Zeh choimer biyechidim mi b'merubim. Shayechidim get skila. Lefichach mamoinam pola. They're killed with a worth punishment, but their assets are saved and are given to the Yorshim. So there's a chumrah of yechidim, meaning the type of capital punishment is considered worse. But and a hamarubim b'sayif, because the Ir Nidachas, they are killed with the sword, and therefore lefichach mamonam ovad, but they lose their assets. Then it says haket hakeh es yoshvei ha'ir hahi lefi chorev. The population has to be killed with the sword, because Hichmarta, no. Hachameret v'hagamelet ha'overet b'makom l'makom are elu matzim osam. Let's say there was a caravan of donkeys or a caravan of camels that were passing through. And when you counted up the population, they reduced the number of people from 51% to 49%. So they saved the city from being near any dachas. If they were in the city and they did not worship the Avodah Zarah, you can add them to the other people in the city who also didn't worship it to reduce the percentage. Shneamar, hacharem atav et kol asher ba, ve'et behemta lefi choref. Destroy, you will be destroyed, everything in it, and the animals. Mikan amru nichsei tzadikim. Let's say that tzadikim in the city who did not worship Avodah Zarah, oivdim, they are killed, and they lose their assets. But b'chutz lo plitin, if the tzaddikim were not in the city, they're saved. Now the assets of Shol Rishoim is betocha ben shebechutz lo, harei elu ovdim. Rishoim lose their assets no matter what, whether they were in the city or out of the city. Shenamar, ve'et kol shlalat tikbots el toch rechava. All the booty will be put in the streets. And there's another kula here. Im ein la rechov, if this city didn't have a street, oisin la rechov. So you make a road. But if haisa rechov chutzalo, if the road was outside the city, koinznas olasocha, you can build the road into the city. Shenamar v'sarafta ba'eshes ha'ir v'eskol shlala kalil Hashem lokecha. Shlala v'lo shlal shomayim. Something that's been designated as hegdish, you don't destroy. Mikanamro hegdesha shaba. If someone had designated an asset to be hegdish, it is not destroyed. It's not considered the rechush of the people of the city, so you have to redeem it. Utrumis, let's say truma that was given to a kohen, you're not allowed to eat it, but you don't burn it. You're kavu, you let it rot. Meiser sheni v'kisvei hakodesh. What about Meiser sheni that's given to the Levi? No, Meiser sheni the first Meiser Risha is given to the Levi. Now Meiser sheni, let's say you live in Tel Aviv and you're a farmer, and you have to bring the second Meiser up to Yerushalayim and eat it there. Well, that Meiser Sheni is exempt also. And Kisvei HaKodesh, let's say you have Sefer Torah, Yignozu, you hide it, you bury it, you put it in Geniza. Then it says, Kalil Hashem Lokecha, it shall be completely destroyed to Hashem. Amr of Shimon, Amr Kadosh Baruch Hu, Imata Oisin Din Be'ir Anidachas, if you carry out appropriately this din of Yerani Dachas, malani alechem ki'ilu atem malim oila koli lefonai. It's as if you offered a korban ola which is completely destroyed, it's completely burnt. We don't eat anything of a korban ola. Then it says vaisat tel olam. Tel means a mound, like Tel Aviv was a mound. Lo taseh ganesu pardesim divrab yosekli. After the Yer Anidachas is destroyed, you're not allowed to plant parks, orchards. You have to leave it desolate. Rabbi Kiva Oimer lo tibone od. Don't build it. Lekamo sha'isa ein anivnis. You cannot build it to bring it back to its original glory. Aval nasis he ganasu pardesi. So he argues, you can plant trees and orchards. Then the pasuk says, "V'lo yidbak biyadcha me'uma min hacherem." From the assets that have to be destroyed, don't get any. Nothing should be stuck to you. Shekozman shashem ba'olam charan af ba'olam. When the Rishonim in the world, there's anger. Often Rishonim in oilam nistalek charan af ba'olam. when the Rishonim and I guess their assets are destroyed, then the anger of Hashem goes away. Ton Rabbanon. It says Yotzu Anshe Blial. Yotzu Hein Velo Shluchim. That means the insiders have to be themselves, not through a shaliach. Anoshim. Anoshim is a plural word. Ein anoshim pachos mishnayim. You can't be a one-man band here. You got to have at least two insiders. Davar acher, anoshim, velo noshim. The Mishnah said women, if the women are the insiders, then the city is not Irani Dachas. We learn it from here. Anoshim velo ktanim. Bnei Blial, these are like wild people. Bonim sheparku ol shamayim etzavareim. These are people of the Leidegeiers. They don't keep the Torah anymore. They're not religious. They've thrown off all mitzvahs. Mikir becha, v'lo min asfar. They have to be within Eretz Yisrael, not from a border town. Otherwise, there would be no Erani Dachas. Then Yoshvei Iram, below Yoshvei Iracheretz. They can't be dwellers from another city. Laymor. What's the Laymor? Shetzrichim Eidim Basra. L'kol echad ve'echad. Each person who sinned has to have two Eidim that saw him sin, and the two Eidim have to give him Asra. So we see already how hard it would be for this to ever occur. Right? Because if one person who did the Avodah Zarah didn't have Eidim Basra, then the whole thing goes away and there's no Irani Dachas. That's why it says, Lo hayev lo nivra. Itmar. Rav Yochanan Amar Cholkin Irachas, Lishnei Shvatim. You can divide a city between two Shvatim. Rish Lakish Amar En Cholkin Irachas Lishnei Shvatim. We're talking about like a city that was bridging a border between Yehuda and Binyamin, let's say. So, Esrei Rav Yochanan Rish Lakish. Our Mishnah said that the city doesn't become Irani Dachas unless the insiders came from the same city and the same Shevet. My love, Afal Gav Shemidechem Oisa Ir. In Ilolo. That seems to imply that not only do they have to be from the same city, they have to be from the same Shevet. So Shmami Nashachokin Irachas L'Shnei Shvatim. So you can save a city is basically what's happening, because the one city is going to be divided between the two Shvatim. So what says lo? Shenaflalei b'Yerusha. Somebody received a nachla in a certain city from his mother, who was from a different Shevet. So it's not a proof the way Rabbi Yochanan wants to learn. Or inami, yavu anile b'matona, or somebody gave him as a gift from a nachla from a different Shevet. But a city is not given to two different Shvatim. Eisvei. Again, Rabbi Yochanan asks a kasha on Reish Lakish. Certain cities were given to Leviim. And it says in Yoshua, Orim Teisha Me'ech Shnei Shvatim Ha'elu. There are 9 cities from 2 Shvatim. My love, Arba Upalga Mahaiva. Arba Upalga Mahaiva. That means each Shevet had 4 cities and 1 half of a city, and the other Shevet had 4 1/2. Comes from here that one city can be divided by 2 Shvatim. Shmami no. More says low. Arba mehai, the chamish mehai. It's not 4 1/2, 4 1/2. It was 4 from one and 5 from the other. Aihachi leprushe prushe. So, which Shevet got the extra city? Kasha, because the Gemara never, the pasuk doesn't say. Okay. Tomorrow we're going to learn at 8 o'clock.
But
Okay.
Hold on a second. But Dikat Chametz is 8:06.
Okay, I'm sorry. We're going to learn tomorrow at 6 o'clock. 6 p.m.
So,
Yeah, 6 p.m. I'm going to try to finish Sanhedrin tomorrow. Okay? I'm going to try to finish Sanhedrin tomorrow because I think it's supposed to finish tomorrow.
No,
It's
today.
supposed to finish today.
Okay.
I already, because we're
So-
doing
so-
the,
So we will, hang on. So we can actually make, we could have made a Siyum B'chayros if we would have finished. What's the next Masech? The Makkas, right?
Marcus.
So we're going to try to start Makkas as well. We'll see. We'll learn for an hour, and we'll try to finish the Sanhedrin and start Makkas, so we'll be on the blot for Makkas. On Friday, we will also learn in the afternoon, like we normally do, like 4 o'clock Friday. Now, Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, we're going to learn in Shul. Like 5:30, an hour before Mincha at Shul. And then we'll be back.
I won't be here, and Harold won't be here.
Right.
So you don't walk over.
Yeah, so only let's learn together.
Go to Walter's house,
Yeah.
or vice versa.
Okay, but we'll learn. We're going to learn. Well, Yaakov,
And Achinami, we should learn, but
Yeah, but you need to go to Shul.
if Mario and
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Harold are not there,
Mario, where are you going?
To the valley.
Okay. Well, we'll be back online Tuesday.
Tuesday,
No Tsurba. So we'll be online like at 8 o'clock. We'll do Daf Yomi 8 o'clock at night.
Okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Okay.
and then Friday the afternoon. We'll
it's a
see.
bit of a problem. There's a lot of people coming in. There's a lot of suitors and all that kind of thing. So it won't be easy.
Well, we'll see. Maybe we'll do it earlier. We can do it. We can talk. We'll figure it out.
Okay. All right.
Figure out.
So we'll
Harold,
talk to everybody tomorrow.
I'm going tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Oh,
Pesach
have a
Kasher.
Chag kosher v'sameach.
Hag
I'll
Kasher,
go to the
Sameach,
Sameach.
Sameach,
Enjoy with
everybody.
your families.
Tomorrow what?
Tomorrow,
At
6
6.
o'clock. 6 o'clock.
Okay.
6 p.m.
By the way,
Yes.
tomorrow's my birthday. So
Oh my
my,
God.
Happy birthday,
Yeah.
Ernie.
my
Happy
family's
birthday.
taking me out
And
to dinner.
Friday is mine.
Friday's, you're April 11th, Mario?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay, happy birthday.
Mario, you got to make a party for everybody.
Yeah. Ernie, April 11, 1945. A lot of things happened
Very
today.
special, yes.
Wow. Wow.
Very special birthday, obviously, Mario. We have to celebrate.
80.
Yeah.
No, so we said after Mario, when you come back, we want to have it from the Daf. We would like to take you out for dinner or something. So we
Great
all go
idea.
out together.
Okay.
Excellent
Okay.
idea.
Absolutely. Good idea.
For your 60th birthday. So
Right.
we do that.
Yeah.
All
Does,
right.
who serves prunes? Do any restaurants serve prunes?
Have
Have a good Yontif.
Good Yontif,
Okay,
Okay.
everybody.
Yontif,
Good
Good Shabbos, good
Samach,
Yontif.
everybody.
Yeah,
Yes.